All right, let's jump right in. As we get into the home stretch of the Bhagavad Gita's chapter 18, Krishna gives us one last, absolutely critical clarification. See, he's already talked about knowledge, action, and duty. But now he asks an even sharper question. What is it that actually determines the quality of all three? And the answer, well, it's subtle, but it changes everything. Let's just make this personal for a second, right? Have you ever had the best intentions? I mean, you really truly meant well, but the whole thing just blew up in your face. Maybe it created more drama, maybe it hurt someone you care about, or it just completely backfired. Yeah, it's that incredibly frustrating feeling we've all had. And what's the first thing we say? It's almost a reflex, isn't it? But my intentions were good. We use it like a shield to justify the mess. But this is where the Gita gently nudges us and says, hang on, maybe good intentions isn't the whole story. In fact, it might be the very thing that's hiding a much deeper truth from us. And this is why Krishna's analysis is so powerful. He asks us to look right past that surface-level claim of a good intention and to examine something deeper, the inner quality, the actual energetic texture that's running through our knowledge, our actions, and even our sense of duty. So here's the bottom line. Not all knowledge is going to set you free. Not every action is going to liberate you, and not all duty is going to uplift you. The outer form, what it looks like you're doing, matters so much less than the inner quality that you're doing it from. And this deciding factor, this hidden variable, is what the Gita calls the gunas. So how in the world do we start to understand this inner quality? Well, Krishna doesn't just leave us hanging. He gives us a framework, a kind of lens we can use to look at everything. And this framework is built on three fundamental modes of energy or qualities that exist everywhere in nature and, most importantly, inside our own minds. These are the three gunas. And the framework is surprisingly simple, but it is incredibly deep. First, you've got Sattva. Think of this as the quality of clarity, harmony, balance, and light. Then there's Rajas. That's the energy of agitation, passion, constant desire, and restless action. And finally, you have Tamas, which is all about inertia, confusion, heaviness, and delusion. These three are always mixing and swirling inside of us, coloring every single thing we think, feel, and do. So how does this play out in real life? Krishna starts right at the source, knowledge itself. You see, most of us have this really dangerous assumption that if we're smart, if we just know all the right things, we'll automatically make wise choices. But Krishna says, not so fast. Knowledge is never neutral, it's always being filtered through one of these gunas. On one hand, you have Sattvic knowledge. It's integrative, it's calm, it's expansive, and it sees the underlying unity in everything. It gets that there's one reality expressing itself in a million different ways, and that naturally chills out the ego. Now, Rajasic knowledge, that's the total opposite. It only sees fragmentation, it's agitated, and it gets fixated on all the differences, the hierarchies, the comparisons. It fuels competition and is constantly reinforcing that feeling of being a separate, striving self. It creates a lot of effort, but it never, ever settles the mind. And then there's Tamasic knowledge. This is when our understanding is just fundamentally confused, partial, or distorted. It's when we cling to one tiny, narrow viewpoint like it's the absolute truth, and we aggressively push away any complexity or nuance that might challenge it. And you got to be careful here because this kind of knowledge isn't just ignorance, it actively hardens it, like concrete. So this is the really powerful insight here. Krishna is basically showing us that being intelligent is not the same thing as being wise. Simply having information, what you call your truth, is absolutely no guarantee of freedom if that truth is being filtered through the lens of agitation or confusion. It can just become another weapon for the ego. Now, this three-part lens of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas doesn't just apply to how we think, it applies to what we do. Krishna takes this exact same analysis and lays it over our actions and our sense of duty, showing us how the same outward behavior can lead to completely different inner results. Think about it. A sattvic action feels almost effortless. It's done because it's just the right and appropriate thing to do, with no craving for a specific outcome. It's freeing. A rajasic action, on the other hand, feels frantic. It's driven by this intense desire for recognition or success or money. And it's totally exhausting, even if you win. And then a tamasic action just feels heavy. It's careless, maybe even harmful, or it's done out of sheer avoidance. That kind of action just pulls you deeper into confusion. And the exact same logic applies to our responsibilities. When you fulfill your duty with a sattvic quality, you do it with humility and a clear-eyed awareness of the situation. But if you do that same duty with Rajasic energy, you're not really serving. You're looking for validation. You're acting out of pride, and that just binds you even tighter to your ego. And Tamasic duty? That's just going through the motions, completely mechanical, with no care or understanding. It totally disconnects the action from any real meaning. And this leads to Krishna's incredibly precise conclusion on the whole thing. It is not the act of fulfilling an obligation that purifies our work in the world. Duty is purified by clarity. It's purified by sattva. That's the entire key. So let's bring this home. How does this ancient wisdom really challenge our modern excuse of good intentions? Well, the Gita gives us a much sharper, a much more honest way to look at ourselves. It helps us bypass our own excuses and get to the truth of our impact on the world. So here's the first diagnostic question we have to ask ourselves. Forget for a second what you meant to do and just look at the actual result. Did your action, the one born from your good intention, actually bring more clarity, peace, and harmony into the situation? Or did it create more agitation, more conflict, and more chaos? We have to be honest. And here's the second question, and it's even deeper. Did that action help to dissolve your own sense of self-importance? Or did it subtly reinforce it? Was it really truly about serving what the moment needed? Or was it, even just a little bit, about proving that you were the right one, the good one, the helpful one? That, right there, is the real measure. And this, ultimately, is the profound shift in perspective the Gita is asking us to make. True freedom isn't found by changing your job or moving to a new city or finding new relationships. It's not about doing different things. It's about learning to do the things you already do from a fundamentally different inner space, a space of clarity, not a space of agitation or confusion. By weaving together our knowledge, our actions, and our duties through this lens of the gunas, Chapter 18 gives us this incredible, integrated path to real freedom. So what could possibly be left to say? Well, in our next explainer, we're going to decode Krishna's final ultimate instruction and see how the ideas of surrender, freedom, and responsibility all come together at the very end of the Gita. You are not going to want to miss the grand finale.